Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Allison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hi, we welcome you back to the podcast, or welcome you for the first time if you haven't listened before. Our last episode was about holiday shows, and when we were done recording it, Allison and I said to each other, we really need to talk about cultural things as a whole, not just holiday shows, that we both believed that this is a very important topic. So we're going to talk a bit about culturally respectful practices. And the reason it's so important is because of child development, of course. Children all need to feel as if they belong in their setting. When children don't feel as if they belong, they don't develop a healthy self-esteem, and then they can't become the best version of themselves. That's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's a basic theory of child development and of human development. We all have to first know our physical needs will be met. Then we have to know that we are safe. Once we know that our physical needs are met and we are safe, then we can develop love and belonging. When we can feel love and belonging, we can develop self-esteem. And when we have all of those other things, we can do something that Maslow called self-actualizing, which basically is becoming the best version of whoever you were meant to be. Yeah. So that's why being culturally respectful of every child in your classroom is so important. And I think adults with really good intentions sometimes don't realize that they're not being culturally respectful of everyone in the space.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't realize. I don't think people are maliciously going out to not include. I think it's just they don't realize that they're doing it sometimes. And I think being self-aware is very important, to take a step back and be like, wait, what am I doing here? Like, who's getting more time than others? I think you just need to be more aware of your practices and aware of your biases, because then, you can go forward from there. Yeah,
we absolutely have to be more aware of our biases. And we actually did an episode about biases. I'm looking back.
Oh, yeah, we did.
We did. It was episode 22. What's your bias? We all have them. And while we're talking about, we've talked about bias in the past, and in the last episode we talked about holidays. I think we do have to talk about how there needs to be equality in all of this for the sake of each child. And so, the majority culture, you can't spend more time on that holiday than others. Nor can you teach about holidays that are not your own. That's not culturally sensitive. I've heard a lot of misinformation given to children about holidays or other people's traditions or practices. And again, not out of any maliciousness, not out of any outward prejudice, but just because people don't know. I was in a classroom where the teacher was talking about Hanukkah and Christmas. This was a couple of years ago. Talking about Hanukkah and Christmas, and the teacher, with all good intentions, when somebody said, one of the kids was like, Hanukkah, what's that? And she said, oh, that's when Jewish children celebrate the holiday of Hanukkah, and it's kind of like Christmas. They get gifts. And I was like, no, it is nothing like Christmas. It is not. It is nothing like Christmas. And honestly, if that's not your holiday, you need to be bringing in somebody who knows about the holiday to talk with children about it. And if Christmas is not your holiday, you need to be bringing in someone else to talk about it. And there are so many more holidays than that. Allison and I live in a very diverse area of the country.
Yeah.
What are some of the holidays, can you think of them, Allison, that you've encountered that children celebrate who you've taught?
Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
St. Nicholas Day. Mm-hmm. Ramadan. Mm-hmm. There's another one, but I can't.
Eid. I don't want to mispronounce.
I know. Los Posadas, I think. Is that how you pronounce that one?
I'm not sure.
See, now this proves to you that we are not experts on that holiday.
Right. Therefore, we're not even sure if we're pronouncing it correctly.
And I don't want to
how am I going to teach it if I have children in the class that celebrate that?
Right. And you know who the perfect people to go to for the information about their holiday? The parents,
Yes.
because they know exactly how they celebrate their holiday. So invite them into your classroom to teach it, you know, and most parents will be like, oh, I'd be glad to do that. You know what I
And
mean?
again, equal time. Equal time.
Equal time.
You
Yeah.
know, everybody
So,
gets a day or nobody gets anything.
right.
I mean,
And it's okay.
that's really how it needs to be.
And that's okay too, to
Yes.
not do anything, because I will say that's typically what I do is not anything. Now, I work in a public school, so there's a lot of,
Oh, you have
it's a
separation
little,
of church and state.
right. So I'm not really allowed to. So I make it more about, like, I mean, we still kind of have a little party, but it's more like, it's about something else. It's not a Christmas party. It's not a holiday party. It's just like, hey, going to have this. Usually it's because I have a little stuffed bear that goes into hibernation for the whole winter, and we make it his going to sleep party, and we're going to have, some cookies and to celebrate him going to sleep. And then it becomes like this exciting time in the classroom, but not about the holidays.
I
So
want to make sure to point out that being culturally sensitive isn't only about holidays either.
it's all year round.
But it isn't,
you know?
and it isn't only about religion or ethnicity. Culturally sensitive is also, being sensitive to the culture of those with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
being sensitive to gender.
Yeah, I think it's just being sensitive overall to different people's lifestyles sometimes, like
And
not
teaching that it's
everybody is
all okay.
exactly like you, and it's all
And
okay.
it's all okay, and it's all acceptable.
Yeah.
And whatever family culture, even every family has their own culture. My family may celebrate things or acknowledge things in a different way than another family. Like, for example, in my family, thinking of one of those like sort of hallmarky holidays, like um, Father's
Valentine's
Day and
Day,
Mother's Day,
Father's Day, yeah.
Valentine's Day. We acknowledge them by saying it, but we don't buy a lot of expensive things for those, and we don't do that. But there are other families where the culture is that they do that they buy very expensive things or have big celebrations or big dinners or for those sorts of holidays. And every family has their own way of doing things, and we have to be very respectful and very sensitive about that. Very recently, I was in a setting where there was someone who said something about when people come to a country that they just need to adapt the practices of that country. And that's not culturally respectful.
No,
They don't
yeah.
have to give up their own practices. I think it's important to point out that not only in the actions that we take, but in the visuals in our classroom, everyone should be represented. That's why it's so important to have family pictures in there,
Yeah.
and dolls and toys and books depicting many, many different cultures.
Yeah. And I think you need to, like, the way you talk about certain things too needs to be, I find it more with gender, like gender neutral. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, a girl can grow up to be a doctor, a boy can grow up to be a nurse, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It's all okay.
And you
You
have to
know,
depict it in the classroom.
and you have
You
to
can't
show
assume
pictures
kids
of
know
that.
this.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
need to have, I'm always telling schools if they're going to be doing something having to do with community helpers, for example, please make sure there's an equal distribution of men and women in every role depicted.
Yeah.
Please make sure that the children get the visual. Please make sure that in your classroom you have things representing people with physical disabilities. Dolls and wheelchairs exist now.
Yes, I have some of those in my classroom for the dollhouse. They have like um, people in wheelchairs. They have one using a walker.
Hmm.
They have one using one of those. I want to say it's a Segway. Is
Oh,
that what these are called?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. One has a cane. Like it was interesting because I bought them like because it said culturally diverse dolls or something, but I don't think I really paid attention. And when I ordered it, I didn't see all the pictures because I was like, oh, that's good. But then when you get them, it's not just gender and race, it's like disabilities too, which I thought was like awesome.
Oh, that's really
You know?
awesome.
Yeah, because I think the one that I have is like a veterinarian and she's in a wheelchair, but she's got
Oh,
like
cool.
dog and everything. And you're like, and some of the kids have questioned about that. Like, oh, how could she do that if she's in a wheelchair? I'm like, because you could do anything you want.
She can totally do that.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. The wheelchair does not stop you. That's just how she uses her legs, is what that's how, like, it doesn't make her any different. It's just she could do whatever she wants to be as long as I always tell the kids, I'm like, you just have to go to a special school and then you can become that person.
Eh,
And, like, I tell that to them all the time. You want to be a ballerina? You go to the special school that teaches you how to be a ballerina, then you're a ballerina. You want to be a firefighter, whether you're a girl or a boy, all you need to do is go to a special school and then you learn how to be a firefighter. And that's what I tell them. That's the difference. All you need to do is from here, go to a special school, and then you can become that. Like, so then it makes it like, oh, anybody can do that. Yeah, anybody can do that, you know?
I think we
So,
have to remember too, we don't know the children's families so well. We don't know if there are people in their families from different cultures or different abilities or challenges, and we have to show in our settings that whatever it is they encounter in the outside world is good. We don't want
yeah,
children to start to feel embarrassed or ashamed of themselves or their culture or their families or any of those things, but when we represent it in a classroom, we teach them that it's valued.
yeah. And I think you need to teach, like, show them, like, it's all of that's okay.
Right.
Some children are being raised not by mom and dad, but by grandma and grandpa, and that's normal. Some have two dads, two moms. That's normal. That it's all just normal.
There is no
You know,
normal, in
there
fact.
or there is no
There
normal.
is
You
no
know what I mean?
normal.
It's
There's
either
just,
everything is
it
normal
just
or there is no
is. It
normal. It
just
just
is.
is.
People can
This
just
is what
be who they
family
are.
is.
And
Yeah, just be who you are.
I think, you know, I, I just want to kind of point out the children who are raised in families where holidays are not celebrated. I want
Yeah,
to give them a shout out because I feel like those families really struggle.
yeah,
It is their culture to not acknowledge holidays or birthdays and some other things. And I feel like a lot of people in our society don't understand that is their normal,
right,
and that also needs to be respected in some way too.
right.
Through even, if you are acknowledging different holidays in your classroom and this is what you do, the children who don't celebrate those holidays, they also need something that their families can come in and talk about.
Right. That's why
And
I feel like having the families come in might be the best way to go about it,
but
is
I
because
think
then
you
you
have
can invite that
don't
family in, maybe show.
to do what? Like they're not celebrating a holiday. So it would be my job as the teacher to figure out what can this family come in and do. And even to go to them and say, we want you to have equal time in our classroom. What would you like to come in and share with us?
Right. Maybe there is something about their culture or religion that they can share,
Right,
you know?
right. I
And it
think,
doesn't have to be holiday related. It could
right.
just be something
It could
else.
be something else. And I think that we need to stop thinking about the way we do things as, this is how it should be. Because
Yeah.
it's
Or
different for everyone, and every child has a right to feel that they culturally belong in your space.
sometimes I hear this from people saying, oh, but the kids will miss it so much if we don't celebrate Christmas and Santa or whatever. I'm like, but they won't. And I'll tell you that they won't because I don't celebrate any of it at my school. Okay, I don't even talk about Christmas or Santa or Hanukkah or anything. I don't. And none of the kids bat an eye at it because they're getting it at home. So they won't miss it. They get it at home. And that, but you hear that sometimes, oh, but the kids really want to learn about Santa. I'm like, well, then you can teach them about Santa at home because
Yeah.
everybody, even within the Christmas, the Christians, the Christian holidays, everybody celebrates that differently too. So the way I celebrate Christmas is not necessarily the way somebody else celebrates Christmas. So that's part of the reason why I was like, you know what? It's not appropriate for me to talk about my holiday, which, of Christmas, because the way my family decides to celebrate it might be different than somebody else's. And some people believe in certain things and some people don't,
Right. And it's
so
all good. And it's all good.
it's all good.
So
Yeah.
let's sum up to be culturally sensitive and provide equality and equity in our classrooms. It's like equal or nothing.
Yeah.
I think equal or nothing. And it all needs to be done very sensitively, not only through our actions, but through the items in our classroom. because every child has to feel that they belong in your space in order for them to develop a feeling of self-worth and in order for them to become the best version of themselves. And that's really the bottom line. That should be the bottom line for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, because don't you want everybody to be the best person they could be?
And if you would like more information about any of these topics, by the way, you can contact us. You can reach me through my website. My website is helpingkidsachieve.com, and you can contact me through there. Allison, how can they reach you? We haven't said this in a while.
You're right, we haven't. Oh, you can email me at AllisonJoy79@gmail.com.
Okay, and we hope you will subscribe and keep listening. Catch you next time. Hello, wonderful podcast listeners. This is Cindy. Allison and I revealed really big news on our recent live episode. We now have a website dedicated to this podcast. Go to howpreschoolteachersdoit.com to read stuff we've written, to check out the latest news, see the topics for upcoming episodes, and to contact us. We'd love to hear from you.